Hello and welcome to this week's episode of My CP Does Not Define Me, where we focus less on the dis and more on the ability of what we can do. Join us every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, live on www.letgoradio.net and on Facebook Live, where I always say, if you can't be good, be bad, but be good at it.
What's up, everybody out there in Facebook land? It is time. It's D to the J with a roll away, and it is time for My CP Does Not Define Me, episode 44. And have I got a show for you today? This is going to be the show that everybody's going to talk about. I've been saying for weeks, tune in February 24th, because this is the guy that started it all for me in Camp Eastersill. The whole moment of, the football, the whole moment of the counseling at Camp Eastersill, as everybody comes in. Hey, Nikki. Hey, Cindy. Welcome everybody to the show. I'm going to bring this guy in. He was the Camp Eastersill director from 1989 until, I believe, 2002. Let me go ahead and introduce Mr. Devon Brown, a pioneer in the Camp Eastersill world, one of the greatest photographers I know, one of the greatest people I know. Devon, welcome to the show. Thank you for being here. How are you, buddy?
Doing good. Thank you very much for having me.
Man, this is
great intro. Thank you.
This is so awesome. Thank you. I'm like, my mind has been buzzing for weeks, because I'm like, what do I do now? Because it's like, we talked hundreds of times, and because this is the show right here where memories and emotions are going to fly. And we knew that because we talked a little bit backstage before I came on the air. So if you would you just let our viewers know who you are, what you do, what you're doing now?
Sure. Yeah. So as DJ mentioned, I was camp director at Eastersill East, which is no longer there. The facility's there, but the camp's not there. I started fall of '88, and then I left in December or January of 2003. So I saw a lot of folks come through, amazing stories. And as far as like why I left, you haven't even asked this, but I'm just jumping right in. It was kind of where I just needed a job where I didn't live at camp, and I couldn't think of a way. I think it's such a job where you have to invest everything to be there. So I thought, maybe it was time for me to pass it on to another person who could be there all the time. I certainly miss it. It's probably my most proud experience, one of my favorite experiences. And none of the other jobs I've ever had have measured up to it. But then after that, then I worked at a psych hospital for a couple of years as an activity therapist. And now where I am right now, this building here is with Parks and Rec in Hanover County, north of Richmond. And I've been here for about 15 years doing therapeutic programs and inclusion-based programs and that sort of stuff.
And now, Devon, you said you just turned, what was it, 50?
This year I'll turn 57. I turned 56 last August. So,
in your 57 years, and I'm just gonna. That was great that you actually entertained that question. We'll get into that question a little bit more in detail, because I've never asked you that question. Sure. That's the one question. I'm like, and campers, my friends have asked me, why did he leave? And I had that thought, because you talk about camp. You've got to, when you're the camp director, you have got to give everything. There is no life outside of Eastersills. You have no life because you're there all the time. It's
correct. Yeah.
So let's back up a little bit. How did you get the opportunity to get into Camp Eastersill? But before you answer that, I'm asking Devon questions right now that I don't know the answer to. So we haven't rehearsed any of these questions. This is live, off the cuff, real emotion. Tears are tears, and stuff is stuff. So this is going to be very real. How did you get into Camp Eastersill? How did you get the opportunity?
Sure. Yeah. Actually, I first started at Eastersills in Pennsylvania. So I was in Eastersills, Pennsylvania for 6 summers. just as a counselor, as a summer staff person. It wasn't full-time or anything.
Mhm.
My freshman year, I came back from college. I was going to school in Missouri to pursue a degree in journalism. My mom found an ad in the paper that said there's a camp that's looking for staff. I think they're looking for male staff at the time.
Mhm.
I don't think you can advertise it that way now. And I didn't know anything about this camp. And I went to the camp, and the interview, the guy says, well, this is for, people with disabilities. I said, oh, what? I didn't know that at all. But the guy made it sound so easy. He was like, you'll get some sun, you'll have some fun. I thought, well, okay, I'll try it out. Camp director turned out to be terrible, by the way. I think he got fired last week while I was there. He came from Girl Scout camp and then tried to carry that over into Easter Seals, Pennsylvania. But I loved it so much that I kept going back every year after my year at school. And then I thought, what can I do as a career with this? And then Easter Seals, Virginia came up. And then I was 24 when I got hired, which is not even technically old enough to be a director according to the ACA, American Camping Association standards. But I got offered a job. I was offered that job and one in Florida. But I really clicked with Kay, who was the overall, I forget what her title was. But I thought, Kay sold me. I didn't think I was ready to be director yet.
Mhm.
The Florida one was just a program position. And I thought that was a better suit for me. But I thought, no, I'm going to go with Kay. And certainly glad I did.
So in 80, your first interaction was in 89. How many had you worked with people? Come on, CP. All right. Had you worked with people with disabilities before that time?
At the Easter Seals summer camp in Pennsylvania for 6 summers. So,
Yeah. What was that like for you?
Well, it was a very different camp than Camp East. Camp East was always kind of like the hotel camp. Camp in Pennsylvania was no electricity in the cabins, no running water. So it was very primitive. We did have a lot of folks who needed a lot of physical assistance and some folks who came from back then, folks who were in institutions as well. So it's kind of a wide gamut of campers.
Sure.
And I remember when I came to Camp East at first, I thought that's not really camping. It was too nice. And I thought that was sort of a turnoff for me at first. But it was the people there that kind of sold me on it. And I think just right from the start, meeting the folks, I can't remember who the first camper was I met in Virginia, because we started with the Adam. I've probably known Adam the longest of the kids, but our first session was adults. So I'm trying to remember who our first adult was. But
oh gosh, now that one I don't know because
you probably don't know, and I probably can't remember either. But
I want to say he was an older gentleman. He smiled a lot, and he passed away recently because you had done a little bit of a tribute to him because he was the longest staying camper or one of those. I know the guy you're talking about, but I can't think of his name. Man.
Oh man, did Man pass away?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Oh,
you were yeah.
Wow.
I think it was him. If I remember right. This right here. This is hard because the gap. I've known Devon as the Camp East guy. So in where you were for 6 summers, you were really roughing it in Pennsylvania. It was no electricity, no running water, boy. You bathing in the lake.
We did have a lake. We didn't have a pool, so that's not too far off. So yeah. I look back at some of my Pennsylvania camp pictures, and I think, how are we allowed to do that? We went in rowboats without life jackets. Really stuff that. After you get to be camp director, you're like, oh no, that's not right.
This is not safety. We're just gonna tie them in,
Yes. Yeah.
Wow. So I want to welcome everybody to the show. Christina, thank you for coming in, sis. I appreciate it. Crystal, thank you for coming in. Shayna, thank you for coming in. As the comments come across, Devon, if there are any questions, I'll read them and put them up. Shayna says, oh, wow, a lot of history. And it's so true. You, again, 24 years old, and you getting into this, preparing you for a journey that would almost last a lifetime, for you. So talk about, how did you get into Camp Easter Seal East? In what city was that in?
We were in Caroline County, north of Richmond, not too far from King's Dominion.
Right.
So 517 acres. Now it is a Hindu retreat place, or it's being transferred into that. So it's kind of difficult to see, but.
That's going to be the last thing we talk about because I ain't crying yet. So how did you get the opportunity for Camp Easter Seal East?
Well, I interviewed. I was doing my last summer with Pennsylvania Easter Seals at Camp Daddy Allen, which was the very first Easter Seal camp in the nation, by the way. And I came down on a break weekend and interviewed for the job. It was an overnight interview, which was kind of crazy. But it was such a long drive coming from Pennsylvania that they interviewed me. I remember Cade, the director at the time, saying, you're not doing very good. Because I was talking about paperwork, and I really hated paperwork, and I think she was looking for someone who wanted to do paperwork, and I didn't want to do paperwork. So I think that was kind of a turnoff for her, but I think she still liked me enough to offer me the job.
Right. So when you found out you were going to get the job, what kind of details did they give you? I mean, because if I remember right, there's 45 and 50 kids per session. Yeah,
back then it was just the lodge, if you remember. So the dorm wasn't built yet, so it's a little smaller. To be honest, I can't remember a lot of details. I guess I'm getting kind of old. I do remember thinking,
you don't get old, Devon. That's all right.
They wanted someone who was certified as a therapeutic recreation specialist. So I did have that credential, but I was in graduate school and I didn't actually quite finish yet. So when I first started, I had to write a check back to Easter Seals every month because I was kind of being overpaid until I got that final certification. And then I got the certification. Right. But that helped get us interns who often were stellar staff members in the summer.
Okay. So a couple of, let's move forward a little bit. I'm going to kind of give some and then you can give some too.
Okay.
From when I remember my first year, I was going to say I was 12 years old. So I was 12 years old in 95. Oh, dear God, I'm old. So we're looking at this, and I remember going into camp the first time. And for me, I had never seen 45 kids in chairs. This was, you walk into a room, and to imagine, because I was saying, when is the world going to be normal? When is it going to be, you're just going to exist? When I walked into, and I say walked in, brother, because everybody walked in on their own feet. It was, your wheels are your feet, your crutches are your feet. You go in there, and my first year, I'm going, holy cow. I looked at my mom. I said, Mom, they're all like me. And I was floored. I mean, to see that many kids with disabilities, and it didn't matter. Camp had everything, accessible everything. You didn't have to think about, how am I going to go to the bathroom? How am I going to take a shower? How am I going to transfer to the bed? It just was there. And that sold it for me. That first year, my mom left the room, and I'm like, thank God they're gone. Yes. Because that was the camp moment for me.
Yes.
It was there. How did now, and there were counselors from all over the world, Australia, England, Russia, Romania. How did that come about?
Well, let's see. As far as the international staff goes, sometimes we had a hard time getting Americans because, as a nonprofit, we didn't pay a lot. So finding those folks who really had the passion to do it was a challenge. So then we expanded our search to worldwide, and that's probably how that came about. And
it blew it out of the water, Devon. That right there was the moment, because I think it was like just over $1,000 a summer. If I, something like that. It was, and I remember, I think they did like 6 or 7 sessions of a week to 12 days. Right. And that 12 days, I wanted to slow time down. Oh my God. There was everything in that 12 days. We played football every year for 8 years. It was Monday Night Football every year. I just, the diversity of people and the love they had for the campers was incredible. It was absolutely incredible. I mean, there were kids that needed total care. There were kids that needed very little. I mean, and you had to oversee all that? What was that like? I mean, just the whole planning.
So each year got a little bit easier because as you meet more campers, you kind of know what somebody might need and who's going to be a good fit for them or so on. So each year, like I only had to learn a smaller percentage of new people coming in.
Right.
So for me, it was always each year a little bit easier in that regard. Not to say I always made the best matchups, because that was part of our planning beforehand. Was we'd get to staff together. I'd usually work with the unit leaders and the assistant director. And say, okay, next session's coming up. Who do you think is going to be a good match for this person, and so on. And sometimes we got it right, sometimes we didn't. I kind of forget the staff that didn't work out so well, but I know they're out there. So where's I going? I already lost track. I'm sorry.
The matchup of how you matched up with the counselors and campers.
And ultimately, we tried to give our staff a little bit of a variety of experience. So if, say, the session before, maybe they had a camper that they worked with who didn't give a lot of verbal communication, next session, like say a DJ is super verbal. So as everybody probably knows.
I'm super verbal.
Super verbal. So we try to give them a little bit of variety. But then sometimes just natural friendships developed. And I was trying to think before coming on here, how did we pick you with Tatiana? Because we had never met you beforehand. So it was just kind of a random thing for the new people. It's kind of random.
That's the story I remember you telling me, because I asked, how did I get someone as beautiful as Tatiana was? You got to understand, I'm 12 years old. I get a brown-haired hottie from Australia. I'm like, I don't want to leave. Like, she walked in the room, and I'm like, wow, what in the world is this? Oh my God. Like, every hormone in the back of my brain is going whoop, 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 whoop. And I'm going, yeah, I can handle this. No problem. But here's the thing. Once I got past the, great looking females, and there were a lot of great looking females, my Lord. Anyway, but I just, it clicked, man. It was, I think, because I needed, a little bit of less help than the others. I could transfer by myself. I could dress myself. We talked a little bit about that. She was everything. She was a sister. She was a friend. She was a motivator. We had, God, oh man, Special Olympics there. That was so awesome. One full day. Actually, I think it was Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We had the Special Olympics and then the medal ceremony. There were so many events that there was nothing we couldn't do.
That was always one of my favorites. The Olympic Day was, I loved it.
Yeah, the emotions are already starting to, I can feel it because I'm talking about it. I remember you were in charge of tree climb. And that 27-foot bad boy, that was a tree and a half. I remember the first year. You said, all right, DJ, we're going to climb. We're going to hoist you up. I said, you're going to what? I said, you ain't hoisting me up there, huh? I wasn't scared of nothing until I got to that tree.
Now, do we have a capability of me sharing a photo? Or
I'm sorry?
Do we have the capability for me to share a photo?
Let me see if you can.
Because I have a picture of you from the zip line, which I'm sure you've seen this photo before. But
yeah, if you hit share screen there.
Okay.
And then share screen, you should be able to share it.
How about that?
Yep. And let me see if I can add this to stream right here. Oh man.
So I don't remember what year this was, but this one ultimately made the cover of the American Camping Association.
I remember that.
Camps. So my friends is DJ back in whatever year.
I was 13 that year. Oh my God. I was skinny then. Wow. Yeah, I remember we were talking and I said, Devon, I can't do this. You said, yeah, you can. You said, I was putting, when you talked about the harnesses, man, we were going and you said, well, this is going to feel kind of weird at first going across the butt strap. I was like, hello, there it is. And, you pulled that thing up. I'm like, okay, it's working. You know,
Your voice changed a couple octaves. Yeah.
yeah, puberty early for me on that one. I remember, and you were talking about the two commands that we had to use for going up the tree which was envolée and then climbing, and you would hook everything up, and then you safety checked everything. And I got into what you were doing, and I remember like the first time you said, "Don't look down," and I get up, halfway up the tree, and I'm pulling, and I'm pulling, and I'm pulling, and what do? I look down.
Look down.
And I'm like, Devon, you're like, nope, you're going to make it. You're going to make it. So we get up to the top. And I'm sitting there and I'm looking down and everything just kind of stops. And that's the moment when life for me changed as a kid. And you asked me a question sitting on the platform. You asked me, you said, ready to fly? I said, what are you talking about? I'm going to teach you to fly. You said, whatever you do, don't close your eyes. When you go down, look and watch. You're going to fly. I said, all right. And you hook up the zip line, and I'm like, Devon, this rope is frayed. Is this thing going to hold me? Because we had the rope, and I'm like, oh, man.
Right, yeah, it does have a kind of look to it.
Don't worry, we'll all catch you if you fall. I'm like, fall, what? So the whole, in that moment before I launched, that countdown, they counted down, 5, 4, 3, 2, boom, and I flew down that thing, and I remember letting go and letting the air just take it, and that was a moment that I can't explain. It was surreal for me.
Yep. And
I ended up going up that tree like 6 times that session. It was because we did it, and it was so powerful. There was a peaceful part of it. Let me bring Miss Winnie in here. She just jumped up, and I'm gonna bring her in. Hey, Miss Winnie, how are you?
Hey,
nice to meet you.
Likewise.
So, flying down the tree, and that was the moment for me. That's when it all changed, when it all came into fruition. I remember that picture very well.
And I don't know, because I was pretty young when we were doing it. Mm-hmm. I don't know if I would have waited till I was older to get involved with camp. If I would have thought it through a little bit more, I might have thought, well, I don't know about this. If I didn't do it as a youngster, I think I probably would have been a little bit more cautious.
I'm so glad you did it, because you did it so well, and everything was fair. Everybody got to go. Nobody felt left out. That's life, man. You get to go through life like that and fly. I mean, that's life. That's what you want, and people were never left out. There were kids that were bigger than me, smaller than me. Some had no arms, some had one leg, and they're like having the same type of fun that I'm having. And I'm like, what is this? You can't, am I allowed to do this? I had to go through the moments of how I felt to be quote unquote normal. That's I think why I loved Camp Easter so much, because from the art projects to the tree climb to canoeing to archery, there was no you can't. There was, we're gonna adapt it, and it would. And then football the first year, man, that was it. That first crack of that chair when we hit, man, and Devon's like, "Ooh, I remember," because we're going through and it's all touch, and I'm like, "No, forget this." Boom, and I just go right into it. It's like, because I had muscles then, I was built, but again, this is where those talks started coming. I think the second year, I was like, "Where's Devon? I got to talk to Devon." Remember what I asked you the second year? Remember I came into your office and I'm like, "I got to buy this place."
I do remember.
You said, "How much?" I said, "How much do I need?" You said, "Well, right now it's about $8 million." I'm like, "8 what?" You're like, $8 million. I remember that. Oh man. So, man, thanks for teaching me to fly. I appreciate that. That was a great moment for me.
I just want to say something. First of all, I just want to say it's such an honor to see you here with DJ. We've heard the stories over and over and over again with the emotions. So you could truly see DJ's heart and everything that was into this organization that was created for those with disabilities. And he dearly miss it. And he's so serious about wanting to purchase the grounds of that camp.
Yeah, right.
You know, and it's I guess, you know, I want to say this, that it has to be so meaningful to individuals to be able to go to a place like that where they're just free and they're authentically them, and they don't have to pretend to be anybody or act different or, you know, just feel shame or anything, because everybody gets it.
Yeah,
and
right,
I still feel that's missing. It's still missing.
Yep. You just can bypass that chapter and you just move on to you as a person. You don't need to worry about anything else. And
right.
I think that's the beauty of camp.
That's the piece that Miss Winnie's talking about.
DJ had this emotion back in '94. So, you know,
but again, I had never experienced anything about like this. My mom found Camp Easter Seal. I thank God. I will tell you, I've told this story before. We were in a therapy place. And I'm like, Mom, I hate this therapy place. Mom, there's a bulletin board over there. What's that? And she pulled off that application. And that application, she goes, 12 days. Camp Easter, so what's this? And she I begged her, Mom, fill it out. I want to go. Fill it out. She, DJ, you've never been home alone for 12. Fill out the application. I want to go. So she filled it out. And I get a letter in the mail 2 weeks later from July 22nd to August 8th. Fully sponsored. I'm like, fully sponsored. And they list down the cost of what it to go. $1,200. I'm like, $1,200 what? Mom said, I can't afford it. I said, Mom, this is paid. She goes, oh my God, it is. Who sponsored you? I don't know. That was the one thing I wanted to find out. For 8 sessions, someone sponsored me. 8 sessions. I got sponsored and didn't have to pay a cent. 3 square meal. And when I say square meals, Miss Wilson, oh my Lord, have mercy. The food, Miss Barbara, and please, Devon, talk just a little bit about Miss Barbara.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, so Barbara was there at camp before I started, because there was a camp director for 4 years, I guess, before I started. And Barbara's just the heart and soul of camp. She has not been back since it changed ownership, because she just can't bear to look at it. But she would be like I talked about earlier that I couldn't have a job where I had to live at camp. She still did. She didn't live there, but she was there from, I don't know, 6 a.m. to probably 7:30 p.m. every day. And, and I don't think you get sometimes the same benefit. Like when you're the director, you get to be out and see camp and all that. But when you're in the kitchen, I mean, that's a hot place to be, and you're there all day and you get to hear people complain that there's not enough food. I want, chicken nuggets or whatever. But gosh, she and her husband, Mitchell, who was the caretaker for many years, were just really the backbone of camp. So it's the 3 of us that I think just really relied on each other.
That place was so valuable to me. I can remember the first 3 nights we had pizza, baked chicken, hot food. Man, I'm talking, and the food, you ain't got no food shortage, Jack. Them tables were full. And here's the thing. Eating was always picky for me, because I'm like, how am I going to get to the table? When you don't have to think about food service, it's just there. Your pills, boom. Medication, boom. Water, boom. It just, it clicked. Everything was time. Which brings me to my next question. Remember this? 3 announcements. Remember that?
Oh, right.
You did the every meal from lunch to dinner. You did announcements, and I think his name was Ryan.
Oh, gosh, Ryan Cotnoir.
Yes, Ryan.
Yes, wow.
Every session I went, he was one of my best friends. He had 3 announcements. Lunch was great. Enjoyed this, and this. Getting ready to do this, and DJ is really cool. Every single time. There was not one session he didn't say that. And that young man, I never really, back then, I never knew what a person that wanted to be mentored was. It took me a lot of time to understand what I meant to people. But there with him, we were roommates one year, and I'm like, he told me the story of his life, and I'm like, dude, really? Whoa. And you hear about what somebody else has to go through, and I'm like, dude, how, what? And he goes, man, you're awesome. He goes, I wish I had your energy. And I'm like, oh, man. Yeah, they can't bottle that. I said, they can't catch it, back in that time, because when you're 12 years old, 13 years old, 14 years old, you can eat 12 burgers and run it off. But I remember they always had this thing that was, they would start cheering. Here's to DJ, and the way he runs to the tennis courts, and I'm like, what? And the first time it happened to me, I'm like, what are they saying? Run to the tennis court. And I was on a walker then. I'm like, run to the tennis courts. And Devon's like, yep, you got to do it. I'm like, what? Okay. So I got up on my walker, ran out the building, walked to the tennis courts, and walked back. And it was the loudest roar when I got back. I will never forget those moments. You can't, because it's ingrained into you as a person. There was so much. What were some of your memories that you remember that you just hold on to?
Well, it's funny when you were talking about that. I was thinking we never had a food fight, which I was very proud of. That's my one thing. I thought you think of summer camp, you think of food fights, and I just thought, no, we're just not going down that road. And we never did. I don't know why that's important right now.
Because it happens.
That's right. I think, like we talked maybe earlier before we started rolling about, or maybe you talked about when you didn't get in one year because you missed the deadline. And it was just so competitive to get in that it was heartbreaking when you have your regulars that miss out. And it's not anybody's fault per se. It's just that there's only limited openings. And so I think those kind of moments break you when you see all the fun that everybody's having and you know that somebody else is not quite having the same experience. And every year is different though, because you try to compare one year to the next and it doesn't wash out. You'd be like, I expect 1999 stuff in 2000. I'm sorry, it just ain't going to happen. It's going to be just a whole new year of other stuff.
I got one for you, Devon.
Well, let me say this real quick. Just again, looking at DJ and his expression to everything. Can you imagine how many other individuals just have this everlasting relationship, feelings, thoughts, reminders of this one place that meant the world to them because they got to be them and nobody else and
Right.
didn't have to pretend. I just feel like it's such a remarkable thing to be able to listen to individuals like DJ that get to share these moments and still have the same exact feelings
Yeah.
that they had then, but it's still a little bit with just a little bit twist because they're no longer there. They no longer have that opportunity to do that. And I feel like we still in the disability community still have so much work to do in bringing more things, in the community for them to indulge in,
Right.
to come together in, And at 24, at such a young age, for you to go into this, I mean, that's speaking volume too, because you're not related to individuals with disabilities. But to take that
He was by the time we were done.
awesome.
Yeah. I don't have children, and really, I often think of the campers as my kids.
Yeah.
Now, all my kids are grown up, and it's very sometimes hard to see them all grown up. But yeah, for me, it never really was about disability. It was about just the experience, and just building those ties and those connections. The fact that it was folks with disabilities didn't seem to matter. Just was that opportunity to connect with people.
Right.
And when you were talking, I was triggered by, and DJ, I don't know if you remember Deb Fitzwater, who was assistant director for many summers.
Yes, ma'am.
She often would give out little motivational speeches, not speeches, but like flyers to the staff to help keep them going. And one was on, and my favorite one I always liked that she gave out was on the ripple effect of throwing a stone into a lake. And just, it stops, but still the ripple just keeps on going. And I think we're still getting that ripple from camp all these years later. So
that goes to show that what y'all were doing, y'all were really for the people. You were really for the individuals, which meant the world to them. Because once you step outside of that, it's a whole nother level for them. A whole nother level,
One thing in particular, there's two parts that I kind of want to go into, and I want to get your thoughts too. I remember I was your sales guy every year. The women's club would come.
Yeah, he was like our chosen tour guide. As I already described, DJ is super verbal.
There's like 30 women, from 20 something to 40 something to. And I'm just like, he's like, I remember the first year Devon asked me to do it. And we had a broken pontoon boat that year.
Oh, right. Yeah, you did not hold back. You're like,
we had a new pontoon boat. There was a connection. I mean, because I hadn't been horseback riding, and God, I hadn't in a long time. And you're like, well, you are now. And next thing I know, I'm up there on the saddle. I'm going, whoa, this is a stretch. Okay, I'm here. But that Karen from England, she worked with for years. She was the horse lady that worked in the stalls, and she was my counselor one year. And it was just, that was the freedom that Miss Winnie was talking about, to not have to think about what you were going to be. To just be DJ was hard because I had to hold back at camp. It was just, if I could put it into words as to how free I felt and how excited I felt, it was off the meter, man, because like we had a talent show every year. And Josh Goldstein and myself emceed it. Josh emceed it one year. We had several different, but it was one year I dressed up like Britney Spears and with the unit. Remember that?
I think I blocked it from my head.
Well, I did because he showed us those pictures.
He'd asked me if I had still the videos, and I don't have the videos of talent show. Is that what you wanted? Was the Britney Spears video?
That's what I miss. Every year, that was one of the greatest things you ever did.
The talent show night for the staff was also just an awesome experience because you kind of sit back and you just enjoy the moment of your campers getting up there and doing their thing. And it just was, there's usually some tears that night as well.
That's where I sang. And I mean, that's where DJ came out. That's where, because there was no limitation on boxing matches and karate matches and singing and flying trapeze artist and a hairdresser that covered a counselor's head in Jell-O. Rebecca covered a counselor's head in Jell-O.
Oh, right.
Yeah, I mean, it was the greatest thing in the world. And the counselor's just like la-dee-da, doo-doo-doo-doo. And just going on. And I'm like, that is a counselor right there.
Yeah, and I think that speaks to that it doesn't really matter what the activity is as long as that connection is there. So that connection is what it's all about.
Yeah.
I think Rebecca was nonverbal,
Mhm.
and she loved you to death. Oh man! Now that's one thing I remember. Rebecca had the biggest crush on you. Oh my word! I said every word out of on that communication board was, "Where's Devon?" That was the question.
I have seen her not too long ago. She's
Really?
yeah, doing well, but living at the Virginia home. I probably shouldn't say,
Awesome.
but
Awesome. How so well.
but yeah, I think she was doing okay. It's probably been 4 years now since I've seen her. Yeah.
That
I have a question. So I'm taking notes and
Okay.
remembering some of the things that DJ say, but in thoughts of myself, because my daughter is 35 now, and she has cerebral palsy.
Okay.
So it would have been, for a parent like myself, that probably would have been in fear of
Yes.
sending their individual to something like that where they can really enjoy, themselves. She has an intellectual disability, right?
Okay.
So challenge. She
Okay.
can talk and everything, but she has an intellectual challenge, so she's not at her 35-year-old level, right?
Okay.
So
Right.
what would you say to a parent that has an individual that has the opportunity to send their individual to a place like Camp Easter Seal,
Mhm.
and the parent may be weary of them being there? What would you say today to a parent like that?
Sure. One, if they know somebody else who's already been, to talk to that person's parents, to get that firsthand experience. I did get parents who would call me every night, and so I would give an update. And I remember, I think it was Justin. I don't know if he ever came to the same session as you, DJ, but
Dolan? Justin Dolan?
no, not Justin Dolan, different Justin. He came with he lived with his grandma, and his grandma she would camp out down the street. It wasn't really down the street, but there was like a campground down there. And then she would come and kind of watch through the bushes. And I know it probably wasn't the best thing for me to do that, but I thought, if this is what's going to take for her to see camp in its true form, we did that. And I don't think Justin ever saw, he may have, and didn't pick up on it. But it was a great experience for her too, to go, okay, I know that at some point I can put him into somebody else's hands and it's going to be okay. But it's, and certainly I think if I was a parent now sending a kid to camp, I would have the same anxiety at the start too. So,
Right. Because I was that parent.
Okay. Yeah.
That parent that was weary of sending my daughter, knowing, she's vulnerable.
Mhm.
And, so I would have had that moment. But listening to DJ share moments about his experience there at a young age, I would have probably said, okay, well, he's never said anything bad whatsoever. So I would have taken that there alone.
Right.
And just say, okay, and probably would have been that peeking grandma too. I probably would have been that peeking grandma in the woods.
Ain't no problem. You would have.
And then some of the counselors, like we just had one payphone back then, and I think some would have to call back to give a report on how every day went. And sometimes it's not so much for the kid, but for the parent, and they're part of the family too. So we're taking care of mom and dad as much as the kid.
And that's good. That's good. Yeah. Instead of brushing them off and just saying they're going to be okay, but just assuring them, that they, excuse me, but just assuring them they okay. That's good. That's good. So I had one more question I wanted to add. Well, actually it's two, but I'm gonna just do one and let DJ go ahead. But the other one is, if there was an opportunity today where someone said, let's do this again, open up a campground and build another similar Easter Seals, what would be your takeaway from that, or give two for that? So what would you say? Add this on and take this away.
Well, I was fortunate enough to be at camp when cell phones were not around. And so I don't know how camp directors handle that, because we were such an insular environment that we didn't worry about the outside world at all. We're just so involved and engrossed in the everyday. And I think nowadays with phones, your staff probably aren't maybe as connected as they could be if they didn't have that outside world still knocking on their door at their phone.
Right.
So I would be far enough away where there'd be no cell reception. Might be my dream. I don't know. But there's still Easter Seal Camp in Roanoke. Certainly,
Okay.
it's a lot further away for folks down in like the Portsmouth area and so on. They did not run last year because of COVID, and I think they're trying to get things up and running. They're actually doing a big fundraising campaign, I think, starting today. But they may be the better folks to ask what's really a challenge in 2021.
Oh, right.
I think I probably idealize. I look back sometimes at the photos and I go, it really wasn't all perfect. That there were counselors that weren't doing what they needed to do. There were challenges with some campers that we had some behavior issues and so on. So it wasn't all as flowery as I'd like to think it is.
Right.
But I've already lost track. So what else would I do different?
I like the part of the communication part because you get to really focus on the individuals versus being disturbed by the cell phones and distracted by the cell phones, because that too can allow you to miss out on what's in front of you because you're distracted from the conversation and not really paying attention to the individuals. So I like that part. I would feel
I don't know if that's realistic, but
Yeah.
I'd like to.
Yeah.
And I do think those minor moments that happen in between activities are often where the gold is. Like, during that downtime when maybe a DJ or somebody would say, you know what, doing that tree climb meant the world to me. I feel like I can take on the world right now. At the moment of the activity is fun and everything, but sometimes those conversations that you just have by a campfire or just at night, are the key ingredients.
Right. And once again, you get to be yourself.
And be yourself. Yeah. It's kind of like Survivor. You drop all your guard. So everybody's just themselves.
You said, it wasn't all perfect. It
right.
was to me.
It was to you.
I mean, there's going to be challenges in life. Yeah.
You look at 8 years, and every year I was there, I didn't want to go home. That's the piece of it.
Yeah.
That's the piece of it I miss.
Yeah, that checkout day was horrible.
I remember.
And mom and dad feels bad because they're like, why is my kid so upset that they're coming home to me? But it's just sort of the end of that chapter. It's so hard to let go.
The first year I was there, I hid. And I cried all the way home, 3 hours. And that mom said, why are you crying so hard? You're home. I said, Mom, this is not life. That's life. Nothing could not be done there. We had a helicopter come in one year, and the fighter pilot that was flying this thing had it was one of these that could have the machine gun mounted on it, the whole, and the campers are like, they're all, and I'm slowly going up to it. And I remember because I wasn't a fan of loud noises back then. I was scared of everything. And a lot of people didn't know that. That was me then. When I was growing up, I was scared of everything. And he was like, won't you come sit in the cockpit? I ain't sitting in that thing. No way. No. He goes, just all I want you to do is just sit on the edge of the seat. And I remember sitting in a helicopter. I'm like, what's this red button do? He said, press it. And I pressed the button and the propeller started spinning. I'm like, oh, dude, this is, and so there was Devon watched me grow up. And when I say watched me grow up, I'm glad she the boss can see if we go over a little bit. She the boss, we can handle that. This for me to grow up in life, like we're here, there were so many people of different nationalities, of different orientation, of where they were from. It didn't matter, man. We had people that had trouble speaking English, could speak enough to get it done. But Mike, my counselor from Russia.
Oh right, yeah, Mike Klimov.
Yeah, that dude. You talking about? I was speaking Russian by the end of the session, and I'm like, my mom said, "So what?" I said, "Oh, that's for Danya." I'm just like, And Mike's like, speak English. I'm like, oh, dang, sorry. So we're just, but you get in that. And I remember every year, Devin, can I stay an extra session, please? Can I just stay an extra day, please? I don't want to go home. You put it together, man. It was because of your initiative, all of the grouping and the counselor sessions and the matching of the people and making out the menus and drawing and all the things all up on the bulletin boards of all the activities. That's the things we didn't see. And see, after a while, we talked about this question a little bit on the air, and I don't want to ask it because I got 2 left. You got out of it. You had to get out of it. It was you do that so long, it was burning you out. And I mean, they could see it. Campers were like, Devin works so hard. That dude don't come out his house. Like, I was like, this is his last. I remember the last 3 years I was there. I was like, this is it. I could see it like wearing on you. And then we talked about like 2001 was my last year, and I'm like, this is it. I cried so hard because I knew I wasn't coming back.
Yeah.
Because I didn't want to go to the adult session.
Right. Yeah.
It was something about the kids session where my family had grown up.
Yeah.
With Tara and Josh and Kristen and Matt and Anthony. Yeah, I remember all of them. I can list off 45 kids that grew up with me and Eric. They called him Demon Boy back in the day. Little Eric.
Right. Yeah.
And, then there was
He's like an astronaut now or something.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
And it's crazy. But I remember that last year. I said, "This is it." And I remember walking away, picking up grass blades and just dropping them.
Yeah.
On the cement piece. That's the last touch I ever got. And I told Mom, I said, when I die, I said, I want it put in my will. I don't care if this camp is still standing or not. I said, when I die, you bury me right here. I told her, I said, this is my life. This is the piece of my life that I want. I said, if heaven is anything like Camp Israel, I said, God, kill me now. I said, take me home, Jesus. I said, because I don't want to go anywhere else. When they tore it down, you sent the video out. Devin, I'm going to tell you something. I got to 1 minute and 13 seconds. I had to turn it off. And I ain't watched it since. I can't do it. They started covering that pool up and demolishing I'm like, no. I can't let it go because it was that was it. That you tearing down my life. Like you going in there. Those cobblestones on that floor, I remember how they feel. When you go into the dining room, I remember I remember the feeling under my feet.
Yeah.
Like I'm like 10, 9, 8, 7. Oh, we there. I mean, it just and people wonder why I close my eyes for a second when you're talking because the vision is it's so fresh in my mind.
I love holding on to my vision of camp and all that. I think it's sort of not sustainable in a way to build your entire life around it, though. And it's not like it's death per se, but like I think they always say the hardest part about death is that life moves on. That when somebody dies, you want everything to stop. But the hardest part is that everybody else keeps on going. And I feel a little bit that way with camp where that part ended, but everything else kept on moving. So I had to find other things to keep me going. And while I know nothing's probably going to replace camp, just like it might not replace somebody who passed.
Right.
But I know there's other stuff out there that I need to be aware of. So
right.
I wouldn't have had some experiences that I've had if I would have stayed at camp.
So this is kind of that two-parter that I talked to you about. We talked about a little bit about this off air. Your photography is phenomenal. I mean, you have taken some of the most breathtaking pictures of wildlife I have ever seen. And I'm talking about hooked on to the side of a map, just click, click. I'm like, he just climbed all the way up that and took that. I'm like, dude, for how your photography, were you into that just at a very early age and you just kept it through all your life?
I guess so. Camp was definitely the best atmosphere because everybody's like happy. So you got happy people, and I love taking pictures of people. We're all around, and people are just like, I think you maybe have mentioned beforehand, just in their element. And they don't even necessarily know that you're there.
Yeah. I wish you would have got that one.
So other folks, like when you get a camera out, they kind of change. But at camp, you're just kind of relaxed, and it didn't matter. So camp was always my favorite subject. But then I look back at some of my photos from camp early, and I kind of cringe, kind of like, oh gosh, just on the technical side of things, they say if you don't look back and you don't cringe at something, you're not growing. So I do look back and I cringe at some of my old stuff, but I still love to look at it.
Yeah, I agree with the part about even though I know for DJ it's very hard and a lot of other individuals, but I would say just hold on to them as truly great memories, something to always fall back on. But at the same time, like you mentioned, some things you let go and keep going. You build other memories, build other things to hold on to, and things like DJ is really doing some phenomenal things. So he had these to always talk about, as well, like this conversation with you. So him doing the radio, he's going to be able to have, man, I didn't think the radio would do this for me. And I didn't think I would have these opportunities and, bringing this person on and bringing that person on. But basically being me, I get to talk about cerebral palsy. I get to talk about life. I get to talk about being a DJ, I get to talk about all these things. So he had that. You, DJ, had that as well to take a long ways with you. You have Cooking with DJ where you changed that. So you have the cooking show. You get to talk about, going on there cooking with a disability that some people, society, really don't see, because they just see the disability and not the person, and you get to write about these things. So you have some truly great, fun things that you could carry on for the rest of your life. Camp Easter Seals and what DJ is doing today. And now you're just encouraging other people to not allow your disability to stop you, and don't put limits on what you can do.
Right.
And to keep going.
I think that's the piece of it. That's why I can talk about it now without totally bawling, because I have to let go a little bit, because there's nothing I can do about it. I mean, change is going to happen. But having Devon on the show today, I was like, oh my God, what am I going to say? What am I going to do? Where am I going to go? There's so much stuff I want to talk about. And it's just, I'm looking at the ticker going, tick, 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 tick. I'm like, 45 minutes. No. It can't be over. And it's like, I guess, thank you, for everything, because I can't go back to 12, but I can take a lot of things from 12, 13, 14, 15. Heck, I can take a lot of things from my 18th year, because let
me ask you this. Why you didn't want to go into the adult part of it? What was it that stopped you where you were at?
I knew she was going to ask that. I think, I'll be honest, for me, leaving the kid side of myself, I didn't want to become the adult. I wasn't ready. When I didn't really become an adult until 24, 25. I had made so many, I don't want to say mistakes. I had so many learning experiences that I learned from. I couldn't go to the adult session because, well, the adult session was 7 days. And I was just, you taking my 12 days away from me? No, I ain't going. I was so angry. I was angry at myself for growing up. I wanted to be DJ in the little capacity with all the women and all the counselors and all the people. And I wanted to hold that because it was home. I felt like life was going too fast. And I remember going back to my last year, I'll go, nope, I'm not letting this go by without documenting. I have a journal that I kept my last year, which everybody signed. And my mom's ex at the time spilled coffee on it and destroyed it. I tipped over the kitchen table in the house and told him, I said, you just destroyed part of my life I can never have back. I remember that. He looked at me like, this child's going to kill me. I mean, there are Camp Eustisville memories that I still have that are locked away in a chest that I won't open because I can't. Those are those memories that are signed sheets. Do you remember, Devin? We had arts and crafts one year, and we made like the clay. We made like a sculpture out of the clay, and I made a fireplace and had like the little scoves around it, and I had a little piece for it that it sat on.
Vaguely, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure I can remember specific.
I had that sitting on my dresser in my room at my house since 1996.
Wow.
That broke in 2003.
Oh.
After my last year, and I said, God, why did that break? Why did that break? Why did that? That's the last piece I had. And it's, but I understand now. I understand what that was about because the clay was so soft. Even after it hardened, over time, it's going to lose vasticity, I think is a word, like where it gets
Sounds
soft,
good to me.
and it broke. And I remember looking at it on the ground. And I cried for like 45 minutes. I said, "Man, that was the last piece. That was." And after I was done, I'm like, well, I still got the memory of what I did. It ain't gone.
Right.
That's why I said I get what Miss Winnie's saying, and Miss Winnie has brought a lot out. And this is why this is so great having her here too, because I wanted her to share this because we talked about it. She said, we're going to drive up there. I said, Miss Winnie, you don't understand. You get me in that place, I ain't leaving. and it's because I don't know if I can look at camp the same again because you're not there. It doesn't feel like camp anymore because it would have to be rebuilt. Now if we got everybody on Zoom or something like that was from camp, yeah, that would be probably emotional. And I said, I get it. I get what you just said. It makes sense. Like even here now, like I can't go back. No matter how bad you want to go back to. So I would love to go back to those memories of me being 12. Man, to be 12 again, God. Like, but it's different because now I have those memories and I can talk about them.
Right.
And Devin at 57 years old, I'm talking to Devin, the Devin that I knew back then. I'm like, this is weird.
We heard a lot about Devin.
only the good stuff was true, I'm sure. But I want to address Crystal. Looked like she popped up with a statement about it was a while ago about programs for kids and programs for adults that there aren't really a lot of support for adults out there, and that is a challenge that I think those opportunities aren't as prevalent as they are for kids.
Right.
So I don't know what the answer is per se, but
that's why I say it's so much still needed, even for individuals, adult individuals. Like my daughter, for instance, like they have day support out there, but it's not the same.
Right.
It's not the same thing, and you got to really have people with a heart and love in their heart and kindness to really be around individuals like that, because when you do, then they're going to get the best care and the best love and attention and doing more. And when you don't, that's the upside part of any facility, any campground or anything, because it's always going to be somebody. It really is always going to be somebody, that's not going to give the same. But it's missing. It's still a missing part in the disability community for even adults to come together and still be able to do phenomenal, great things, and still just be them and not have to be anybody else.
Yep.
It's still missing. It's literally, it's missing.
And it's sad. That's the sad part because it's needed. It's needed. It's so needed because the disability doesn't stop. The
Right.
person doesn't stop growing. Now, I'm gonna say this because Ms. Wilson taught me one thing: to speak those things to speak the things that are not as though they are. So I'm saying this to you live right here on Let Go Radio and on Facebook Live. I will back in. It will happen. I will take that $11 million or $12 million, whatever it is. I don't care about the amount. It will be restored to its original way. Now, the question I got for you is, when that happens, could you and would you do it again?
I don't know that I could, just from that 24-hour a day aspect. I'm old, older anyway. I would love to try, but I also know that
Staying there all the time.
Staying there all the time, waking up in the middle of the night. It's kind of like in Willy Wonka when he hands off the chocolate factory to a new kid, where it's got to be somebody who's able to keep it up. And I just don't know that would be me. So,
I think if we could get you, kind of to where you wouldn't have to stay there all the time, but you could come in and just because see, to me, there needs to be Devon there, because without Devon, it's not. It ran smooth. Like we had, oh my God, one year we had war games and we had a whipped cream and shaving, like whipped cream fight, shaving fight, and it was all over the bunks, all over. Miss Barbara got so mad that year.
I think that was the year I canceled water games.
Yeah. I was like,
see, it wasn't perfect. See,
but see, that's the thing. We realized, and do you remember, the whole camp came out and we apologized to Barbara because she had, and I was like, y'all, we need to stop. I remember that. We were all we were covered in shaving cream. I'm like, everybody stop. I said, do y'all see what just happened? I said, Devon just walked out the room. When's the last time Devon walked out the room with that look on his face? Everybody went.
Oh.
They said, DJ is mad. I took my stereo, threw my stereo on the ground. I was like, he just canceled water games. What are y'all doing? And we stopped and we made like this big card. We went and we got this to Arts and Crafts. We got this big card and we made it for Barbara, told her how much we loved her, how much she was important to us. And she cried. I remember that specifically. She stood right where the dining hall and the lounge meet. And she stood there on the side, and she was trying to hide. I said, "Don't hide, Miss Barbara. We love you. We love you." And that was, yeah. I mean, because you gotta do what you gotta do. I mean, sometimes you have to say the line stops here because you can't let it go to complete and total anarchy. I mean, because
right, yeah,
that's the realness of it. But I'd love for you to do it again, man. I think it would be awesome if we could just kind of slow it down a little bit to where you didn't have to do everything, because it's hard to do everything by yourself.
But I bet there's somebody out there that would bring a whole new energy and a whole new thing where you would think, gosh,
You don't want to hear that.
I know.
I know that.
But I'm just saying that realistically, I think that
Right.
somebody new may come up with other stuff. It's not that I wouldn't want to, but I just wouldn't want us to sell ourselves short by saying it only could be Devon, because A, I may not be that good anymore, and B, somebody else coming in really probably has some magic that we haven't experienced yet. So.
Well, you know what? In reference to that, to piggyback off of that, time has truly changed. Technology,
and time has changed. Yes,
everything changed. So even if, say, DJ did do this, it can happen. Okay, and you don't want to build it the same. So because things change. So it's not going to be the same. It's going to be better because you're coming in with a whole new mindset, a whole new creativity, all new people. Even if Devon pop in and out, he still show up, right?
See, that's all I'm saying. That right there is the piece.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But things going to change because technology is so much better. So you're going to have the better swings, and you're going to have the better pools, and you're going to have the better kitchens, and the better restrooms and stalls, and all of those, the adult size changeable tables. And so everything would change to fit technology today, the world today as it is. So if you was to step in and do anything today, it would be better than what it was then.
You know,
you're going to have a lot of creative people, and you're going to make sure that the people you bring into your business have a heart to take in and do the job that's set forth, because you know what you want, and you're not going to just let anybody come in. And I believe, you know, even with myself, and if you don't fit what we're looking for, no hesitation. You got to go, because we need people that's in it to win and for the people. So my thing is just saying it's change.
Yeah, it is. And that makes sense. But it's something you said a little bit earlier in the broadcast. And this is one of the reasons I want Camp Easter So to live again, even if it's not the same. And it's going to happen. I'm telling you that now. It will happen. When it does, I want Kelly to be able to experience that, because when you've been in life on the outside of Camp Easter Seal, whenever you come in, the feeling of, I don't know what perfection is. I have no idea what perfection is. I have an idea. When I was in those walls, there was no hesitation. That's the one place I can truly say DJ existed. If I wanted to run around in a polka dot t-shirt wearing a clown wig and one sock, I'm saying that because I did it. It happened. And there's a picture of it floating around somewhere. Devin, you probably got it.
I don't know.
he can get those ones, but man, I wish you wouldn't have took that, you know. But just that, you know, for Kelly, there's a lot of scared parents out there. To let your child experience something. Here's the thing.
I would do it. I would do it.
You would do it now. In close, I want to give everybody a chance to close, because this is the part I want everybody to hold on to right here, because you ain't going to hear this from me again. I'll say this once. I believe in the two people sitting here. These two people are the top of the line. Miss Winnie and Devin and Miss Winnie, there's no 1-2. These two here have said to me, there's nothing you can do, nothing you can't do. You know, you can do anything you want. Just put your mind to it. I'm going to teach you how to fly. I've learned so much. But if there is a parent out there right now that is temperamental about, you know, what if I don't want my child to get hurt. I don't want my child to you know, feel left out. If there is a Camp Easter So brand, anyone, I think you said it's in Roanoke, Devin?
Right, yes.
Give your child a chance to grow. That's the message that I want to leave. If anybody's listening to this right now on Let Go Radio that's thinking about sending their kid to a summer camp or a camp for kids with disabilities for the first time, I'm going to tell you this once. So listen, your child is not going to be your child for very long. You may have 1 or 2 chances in that child's life to create an impact where they go, wow. I'm telling you, if you want a wow factor, as God is my witness and everything on this green earth, if it has Camp Easter So attached to it, it will be a wow factor that your child will hold on to for the rest of his or her life.
Thank you.
Do not let them miss that chance. Because if they miss it and it goes away, you cannot get it back. I promise you, as everything I am, every radio show I've done, every piece of information I've ever given, for your chance to live as they are, for your chance for your child to live free. They've been in that chair their whole life. This is the one place they can get out.
Yep. Awesome. Thank you, DJ. And I think it also fits for other kids or other adults with other disabilities, where if say you have autism and you just can't express yourself, just a chance to be in a camp environment is also very rewarding. And sometimes I think, you know, like in the afterlife, when folks who couldn't express themselves very freely on this side, on that side, can later tell you, that camp experience meant the world to me. I just couldn't tell you about it because I didn't have the way to do so on Earth.
So, what would you say in closing, Devon? Just anything in close to our folks out there, camp wise, Devon wise, just if you would leave maybe just a encouraging thought or an encouraging word to our folks that are listening.
Gosh, let me think. I think for those of you guys who I know from camp, I love you. I've adored our experience together. It does change who I am as a person. So I carry you with me wherever I go. I'm sure you guys are carrying other people with you as well. If you haven't experienced camp or that sort of environment, take the leap and try to experience that. There is Easter Seals in Roanoke as well. It's called Camp Easter Seals UCP these days. So try to make that leap. And for staff, I think for staff, it's so life-changing for staff as well. That the staff that have come through, it's often just sort of changed the direction of their camp or their life after working at camp. And so it really has had this strong impact. So.
Miss Winnie, how about you?
Okay, I want to say that even if a parent don't allow their child or individual to experience Camp Easter Seals, don't keep them isolated. Allow them to try something else to get joy and happiness, and make them, help them to allow that in spite of their disability, there's still other things out here that they could do. I don't isolate Kelly. Kelly goes places and do things and is a part of so many things. Wherever I'm at, she's going to be there. And I include her in things. And so my takeaway from this whole thing in your last message was, if you are capable and able, and if they are capable and able to do things, let them do it. Give them the opportunity to do it, and open yourself up as I'm opening myself up more and more to allow Kelly to do things that I was fearful of doing, like Camp Easter Seal. So I do feel like if it came to another camp, I would, one, ask a whole lot of questions.
Sure.
Two,
and you have to.
Yeah. Two, go visit. I want to see it. I want to see the grounds. I want to see the people. I want to see the atmosphere. I want to see it all. And then, talk to staff. And then, make that judgment call yourself. And if that's not it, don't close up to, because that was not it. Still explore and find other opportunities out there to give them a chance to do. She goes to Kings Dominion. She goes to the parks. She goes to Busch Gardens and Six Flags, and we put her on those rides that we know won't hurt or harm her because of her disability. So if they have breathing problems or issues like that, what to put them on and what not to put them on, but give them opportunities to experience something, So that's what I want to say in reference to that. And just be open-minded for a certain thing.
Perfect.
I will say this before I go, because I did address this a little bit earlier. To my sponsors for that 8 years, I don't know who you are. I have no idea. But I thank God for you every day, because without you, I would have never been able to go. We would not have had the money. So God provided a way. So I thank God for you guys and all of the other staff members at camps across the country that do this to help people with disabilities, to help people with all types of, because there are all types and no case is the same. And that's why these staff members work. They train so hard and they work so hard to give these camps and these kids the best, and these adults the best days of their life. I thank you guys, all of the counselors and the staff members, the cleaning staffs, the cooking people, all of them. Barbara, I love you. You were and still are a momentous occasion in our lives. 70 years old, still cooking good too, I bet you. But it meant so much to me to be able to go. And, I got through that part without crying, so I'm happy for myself. To be able to do this and to have had that experience and to tell these stories, I wouldn't have been able to done it without the sponsors for those letters. The acceptance letters for 7 years, 8 years of camp I have. Every acceptance letter I have.
Wow.
I've never thrown them away because to me, those were the moments that changed my life and helped to make the DJ that I am today. Again, as Miss Winnie said, don't close out if option A doesn't work. There's always option B, option C. Devon, how can we reach you through social media?
Before you go there, keep in mind this, DJ. Ask yourself, if you were able to reach Devon, whom else of part of that Easter Seals that you would love to interview and bring on and share the story? Because I feel this was good for you, but if you could bring on more, it would be kind of a closing moment for you to not say not hold on to, but for you not to say there won't be, or I'm going to make it this and that. Again, as Devon said, we don't want to, say, well, we lost this person and life goes on. Life do go on. And I'm sure our loved ones will want us to go on. So all these individuals, all these staff members, Devon and everybody else, I'm sure they love DJ and want DJ to move on. Reach out to them. See who else you can get. See if you could get one big show and have them all on there. Work at that. Work at that. I want to leave you with that.
Great idea.
I want to leave you with that.
Y'all don't know what she just did to me. and it's not a bad thing. That Devon and I talked about it, and we said I would love, before Miss Winnie came up, I would love to have everybody up here, giant Zoom, and I'm paying for it, so I can have up to 100 people. I'm letting y'all know now. If y'all went to camp with me from 95 to 2001, come on, and I'll bring everybody.
Do a virtual party. Do a virtual gathering. Make it such a unique. Create the phenomenal title you can and make this happen. Just make it happen. That's what I say. Make it happen.
That's a great idea. Great idea.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, well, I'm gonna take some notes right after I get off the show because again, when Miss Winnie put something like that in, my heart's already going. My heart was already going in that direction. I'm like, and when you want it, and you want that to happen, it makes it hungrier. I'd love to have you on again when we have this Camp CES Spectacular, which is
there you go, right there.
Happen. So I'd love to have you on again, but and that will happen. So y'all, if I'm Lord.
I can't believe it. DJ's speechless. That never happens.
Because I'm thinking about it and I'm visualizing all the people that it could be. I mean, that's camp all over again right there.
Yeah.
I mean, I just talked to Tatiana. I was telling you, I just talked to Tatiana from Australia. I was blown away. She has
make it happen. Just make it happen.
It will. Make it happen. How can we reach you through social media? Then what's the easiest way to contact you?
I guess Facebook. I'm friends with DJ on Facebook, so you can find me through there. There's probably about 1 million Devon Browns, which is sometimes a plus for me because I don't necessarily always want to be found by everybody. But
true.
Yeah, true. So, but yeah, that's probably the best way.
Okay. All right. Well, guys, the CEO and founder of Kelly's Choice, Ms. Winnie.
Nice to meet you, by the way. Thank you.
Likewise. Definitely a pleasure, for real. It really is.
Having you guys on here made this a dream come true for me. 2 years well worth it, and I'd love to have you on again at some point. I know you're very busy. Keep it up, man, because you're doing some miraculous stuff. Those Camp Easter Seal reels that you run, those are helpful to hold on to the memories. So please keep those coming.
I think I do have some more that I've scanned to post, but I just haven't got all organized yet. So
awesome.
at some point.
Well, guys, let me tell you this.
Hold on. So you said a reel. Do you have something that you can share right now and closing out a reel or something that you can, show people? Do you have
I don't
something?
I don't necessarily have a reel, but I have a bunch of photos.
Okay.
But let me show one picture that. So if I can remember how to share, let's see here.
Yep. He's gonna pop one out.
Right. So I don't know if you remember Matt, but I thought this picture for me often kind of symbolizes camp, because who's going to ordinarily allow a kid who uses a wheelchair to get up on a merry-go-round? But at camp, that's just what you did. And I think that kind of picture sort of sums up the freedom that camp often had.
Yeah.
So I know Crystal looks like she's about to fall off this
that's
merry-go-round over here, but she survived. She did okay. But that's often one of my favorite photos. So it's a whole bunch, and I've got them all on my Facebook page. But
guys, go check his photos out.
That's awesome.
You want to talk about some great memories? Just put on your favorite song and let them roll. I mean, because it's to see kids in a natural environment where they don't have to think about who they are. That's what makes it so great. That's what makes this so wonderful. I want to thank everybody that tuned in today.
thank you guys.
I didn't cry too bad. I got a couple pounds, but you know what? I've said before, I wear my heart on my sleeve. Guys, you can reach me at My CP Does Not Define Me on YouTube. You can reach me at My CP Does Not Define Me on Instagram at Minion Sports. Worth the Wait Cooking with DJ Carter on YouTube. Chairmaster Games on YouTube. It is My CP Does Not Define Me at Wix.com for my blog. My CP Does Not Define Me on Instagram. And I will create the blog happening soon in 2021 for Camp CES, Camp Easter Seal East. That will happen soon, and I will get it done soon. So for those of you out there who are interested in that, I will be talking about it, posting about it, starting very soon, actually. And again, thank you guys for tuning in. Miss Wilson, thank you for being here. Devon, thank you so
Great
much.
to see you. Yep, nice to meet you too.
Yeah,
so this is
thank
awesome.
you
Thank you very much.
Likewise.
All right, well, we're going to close
I want to
out
say
with
this too.
Uh-huh.
So I'm Edwina Wilson, the CEO of Kelly's Choice. I'm also the owner of the radio station. If anyone out there listening or know someone that would love to start their own radio show, send me an email to kellyschoicecares@gmail.com. We have the Cerebral Palsy Conference coming up March the 26th through the 31st. We did it longer last year. We were crazy. We were faith crazy, okay? I stepped out on faith on that thing, and it was every day filled with phenomenal speakers. If you've never spoken before, trust me, there were many that never spoken before, but they had the opportunity to share whatever they so desired to share. Their story, testimony, overcoming, not being afraid, speaking for the first time, but they had a conversation. So if you never spoke before, don't feel like you can't do it. You never know what's on the inside of you if you don't pour it out. Give yourself a chance to share who you are and what you've done and what you are doing, because you never know the next person you can uplift, inspire, motivate, or encourage. That's what I believe in when I do these conferences. So the Cerebral Palsy Conference is March the 26th. That's Friday, March the 26th through Wednesday, March the 31st. It's from 10 to 2. We're going to take a break, come back from 4 to 6. Send an email to kellyschoicecares@gmail.com with your topic, the day you would like to come on, 2 days. Choose 2 days and 2 times. Just in case one is already filled, we can fill you in for one of the other times. And come on, let your voice be heard. Let your voice be heard. This is your time to shine and be who you are and share with other people the amazing things that you have done. Okay? And share DJ videos, all of them. Every time he have a radio show, anytime they do videos, Shayna, Christina, Janae, all of them, whenever they have a show, share it. You never know who you can reach. You never know who needs to hear the things that they are discussing and their topics. So share, and let's continue to grow. It takes a village, and let's continue to create and build this village in this community that's needed. All right. All right. That's what I got to say.
Perfect. Tell you, and even if you're scared, there's one thing that I've learned. Some people are scared to speak for the first time. You have got to do things in fear. Don't let fear control you.
That's what I said. Do it.
Someone needs to hear your story.
Yeah.
There are stories out there. You never know what piece of a story is going to change someone's life. If you can help one person, and you had the opportunity to help one person, wouldn't you do it? Wouldn't you do it? Take a chance. Give yourself a chance. Know your worth. Where have I heard that before? It's so true. Guys, thank y'all so much for tuning in with us. We love you. These wonderful people are so close to my heart. I love them so much. They are my family. Thank you to all of my family for tuning in. Thank you for the awesome comments. I will reply to all you guys. Hopefully I got everything up there, and I appreciate you guys tuning in on Let Go. I always say, if you can't be good, be bad, but be good at it. D to the J with a roll away. And Miss Winnie always says what?
Hey, smile for someone every day, because you never know who you may touch. Hey, you never know. That smile going to help somebody. That's all.
All right, guys. Here comes
Thank you guys very much.
Yes.
All right, everybody. That's going to do it for this week's episode of My CP Does Not Define Me. But don't worry, you can catch us again next Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time on www.letgoradio.net and on Facebook and YouTube at My CP Does Not Define Me. Remember, I'm your host, D to the J with the roll away. And if you can't be good, be bad. But be good at it. We'll see you next week.
In broadcast.